just a creepy movie. It definitely creeps you out for sure.
Somebody has to be perfect, so it might as well be me.
Talk about deja vu.
You live to tell the tale.
You gotta think like a werewolf.
It's the Slashers and Screamers podcast. Happy Mother's Day, and welcome to a Mother's Day edition of Slashers and Screamers. Let me introduce my co-hosts. Can't make it happen without them. I'd like to try, but I won't. Final Girl Casey, how are you?
Hello, I am celebrating Mother's Day the best way I know how. That's with Pamela Voorhees.
Oh, man. If this isn't a Mother's Day flick, I don't know what is. We're actually doubling up on the holidays, right? Mother's Day and the upcoming Friday the 13th. So,
You know, it'd be more of a Mother's Day flick.
tell me there. Oh yeah, I do know. I bet I know where you're going to go with it. But Godfather of Droll James, tell me what would be more of a Mother's Day flick.
That movie I picked that we didn't review.
Hey, James. All we're doing is pushing it. Yeah, tell him, Memphis Maniac Rick. I'm too mad.
James, we're doing it next week. We're just pushing it back a week.
All that panic for nothing.
Well, I guess that's going to have to be all right.
I mean, it's going to have to be. We're already started.
Yeah, we've hit the record button long ago, so...
We can take it anytime.
That is true. Theoretically, we could record this and put it out after.
So.
Well, you know what, James? I'm going to give you props right now. The movie that you picked for this week that we're getting pushed, to next week, I thought it was really good. I've watched it already. I watched it the day after you told us, and actually I put it on TikTok.
Don't be blowing smoke up my ass now, Bill.
Well, it's the only way I can keep you in a good mood.
Or in a bad mood.
Well,
I'm like that Hulk, Bill.
You just scrape your knuckles on the pavement.
What's your secret? I'm always angry.
Yeah, well, guys, thank you once again for joining the Slashers and Screamers podcast. We sincerely hope you do enjoy the show, and if you do, hop over to your favorite site. You're already on it if you're listening right now. Just go to the podcast page, and if there's a rating system available, give us a rating, an honest rating. If it's a 1, well, you can go to hell. But if it's a 5, we love you very much. And, yeah, we want to hear from you on our socials, so hit us up on Twitter at Slasher Sports Media, on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok at... Wait a minute, did I just lie to the people? I lied to the people. On Twitter at Slasher Sports, and on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok at Slasher Sports Media. The links are going to be in the episode bio. But guys, we've got some congratulations to give out right now. I don't know if you've heard, but fellow co-founder of Slasher Sports, Christian and wife Courtney Rao. Courtney,
They had a baby.
They had a baby. Courtney, you done good. Well, this guy's not going to do anything today. He's not going to do anything because he is celebrating fatherhood. And this little chunk of a child, let me tell you about this. He sent me the picture. I had to sit on this information. It was hard to do. I said, hey, you tell me as soon as I can tweet about it because I want to tweet about it. This little chunk of a human, 9.3 pounds, dude.
Wow.
Sounds like there's a James Brown in the woodpile.
It sounds like it. Just
I don't know what a normal... I mean, I know that's big, but I also don't know what, an average baby weight is.
10 pounds.
Did you say
definitely
10
not
pounds? I don't
definitely
think
not.
that's
11
Definitely
pounds.
not. I want to say 6 pounds, 8 ounces is the average. No, that can't be right.
No, that's a little bitty thing.
Yeah, it'd be pretty small.
Wasn't
Okay.
that big. I was tiny, so
Yeah, you're still tiny, you little rat bastard.
I was only 1 pound 13 ounces.
That,
The
you
tiniest.
did tell us that. Yeah, you were.
Rick is the
7
shorter.
pounds 6 ounces.
What did
for
you
a
say?
Boy. 7 pounds
Yeah.
6 ounces for a boy and 7 pounds 2 ounces for a girl.
Okay.
This is
So
the average birth weight of a full-term baby.
Rick is
Okay,
the
well-
shortest person I know.
I don't think so, James. We know a
That's
couple of
solid.
shorter people than Rick.
47 inches.
But just think about this. Christian and Courtney's baby at 9.3, that swallows up that average. Okay, and it was a full-term baby. It was actually more than a full term. Not
That's
to put out
why.
anybody's, not to put out anybody's HIPAA info. But Christian let me know as soon as he was going in for what's the word I'm looking for? Induction.
Inducing.
Induction's a word.
Got to do with the heat
For the
and
induction.
air.
Well, yes, but I mean to induce labor, it is a performance of an activity
I've
called
got a
induction.
question.
Oh.
Where's this baby going to play football at?
Well, this baby is a girl,
Don't
and
limit her.
I'm,
Oh, well, ain't no girls on the team.
listen, I wanted to say, James, that is a bold-faced lie because you have a little girl right now playing nose tackle in your youth football league, and
We don't need
she
no women.
no stinking women. They're just women's all they are.
Mm.
Yeah. Hey, James has got a nose tackle on his youth football team, and like she can stop that run up the middle like nobody's beeswax. So, in other words, Christian's daughter's not going to play any football. Okay, she's going to be playing baseball. She's going to be playing baseball, and that's all there is to it. Uncle Billy says so.
I can tell you right now, baseball sucks.
Well, you know what, James?
Excuse me?
You suck. You suck, buddy.
Strong
Yeah, you suck,
words.
James.
You know we've
I'm
never had a
upset
fit. We've never had a fist
That I
fight
don't
before,
play
James.
baseball.
You did play baseball, James. Like from the time you could until the time you couldn't. So, what are you talking about? Of course, he did play the lazy ass first base position. So I don't know. That's
Don't put my personal information out there like that, Bill. Thinking I played baseball, I'd be ruined.
well.
probably
Oh yeah,
T-ball.
that is. Well, I don't think James. Didn't you skip t-ball?
I was so good, I didn't have to play T-ball.
Yeah, he picked his teeth with that tee.
Who needs a tee to hit the ball off of?
You know, it's funny that we're talking about baseball right now
I was hitting
because
90-mile fastballs when I was 8 years old.
James, okay, you're full of shit, first of all. Second of all, it's funny that we bring up baseball because today, for Mother's Day, I took my mother to a little restaurant in Scottsville, Kentucky, a little mom-and-pop diner called Earl G. Dumplings. You ever heard of that,
You
James?
burst out Scottsville, Kentucky, Bill.
Yeah, well.
Did you get the
that's where we went.
frog legs?
I didn't get the frog legs. I got the catfish, but ran into my very first baseball coach, Mr. Ronnie Whitaker, and
I bet that was terrible.
no, guess what? He remembered me from all you. I remember you, old lefty, could throw hard. I said, "You're doggone right." And I eat that catfish and shut up and leave me alone. Just kidding. It was really good to see him. It's always.
Everybody had it out against you.
Well, you know what? He knows. He was there
Got a
firsthand.
league on a rail.
This is a true story, but I'm not going to speak ill of the dead on this podcast, okay? But I can tell you right
We
now.
just speak ill of the alive, like all the
Yeah,
time.
I'll speak ill of the alive, and so I'll just keep the dead guy's name out of my mouth. But Joe Latito, you can eat a bag of dicks, buddy. Because you know that 9-year-old lefty was going to mow your team down, so you want to be, he was born a month too late to pitch. You know what? Kiss my ass, Joe. Okay, now that I got that out of my system.
I got another good story to tell, Bill.
Oh, please, by all means.
So you know how I recently became
Born again
say you
Christian.
say, moved up a tax bracket and got a fish tank.
Is that what that signifies?
The fish tank says it all. I walked in and saw
like
the
a little gallon fish tank.
no. I walked in and saw the fans in the mirror or in the window and knew he was poor, but I looked over in the corner and I saw that fish tank and I knew I was mistaken.
What kind of
Yes,
fish do you have?
I don't know.
Oh, okay.
There's a shark in there and some catfish
A
Great
fucking
white.
shark.
and some kind of sucker
Once bitten,
pig.
twice shy.
There's an eel in there. So let me tell you about this eel, Bill.
Please do.
There I was,
Oh,
hanging out. Went to go get something to eat. Come back, the eel was gone.
no.
That son of a bitch done jumped out of the tank. He got eaten by the cat. True story.
Well, I thought there was more details. Like you saw the cat picking his teeth with the bones over in the corner or something.
No, I was looking, and they said there ain't no eel in there. So we looked under everything, and there he was gone.
So how did
Nobody
you?
knows where eels come from.
Well, apparently nobody knows where they go either. How did you deduce the fact that your cat ate the eel? It's fine, James. Keep your secrets.
He was gone.
It
And
probably
that's the only-
just left.
And he wasn't laying in the floor nowhere.
So
But if
it
you
must.
dissect an eel, there are no sexual organs, and they've never been observed mating.
So how do they reproduce?
That's a good fucking question.
Something
I
they do.
don't
Aliens?
know. That's what I'm saying. No one knows where they come from.
So you're telling me that nobody ever has like just taken two eels, put them in a tank, and observed them for any amount of time with cameras, and
How
then
they
like
going to
fast
do
forward
that?
it?
They don't know if they're male or female.
Yeah, there are no sex organs.
Well, if they put two males in there, they ain't never gonna see nothing happen.
Well, I'm sure that with trial and error, that they would be able to figure that out.
Look, I'm
Like
just
eels
saying.
don't last. Eels don't live for like 100 years.
Ain't nobody got time to sit and watch an eel for 100 years.
That's
Aren't
all
sharks,
marine
dude?
biologists
Those,
have time to do is sit and
Those
watch.
Greenland sharks live for like 300 years.
George Costanza,
Whoa.
famous marine biologist.
I reached in and pulled out this.
They do. Look it
Well,
up.
I am a marine biologist now since I got this fish tank.
Oh,
Oh.
yes.
That's the
So,
qualification.
so we need to know
Well,
the eel question.
I was watching this eel to see if it reproduced, and it got away.
That's
Now you'll
okay.
never know.
Yeah, because there
I
are
had
no more
hamsters
eels
and
left.
they reproduced.
Oh, this reminds me, guys. I've got terrible news to share.
No.
Yeah.
No.
Yes.
What happened?
Damn,
So-
Bill, you only had that thing for like a cup of coffee.
Yeah. I bet they
What'd you
gave it
do?
to us. I
Close
bet
his
they
head in
gave
the
it to
door.
us sick. No, God, James, no, I didn't. Yeah, we're all terribly saddened by the loss of our beloved guinea pig, Milky Way.
Damn, don't nothing last over there.
No,
James.
I come over for one pay-per-view, he had a fish. I come over for the next pay-per-view, it was just a tank.
This
Well,
is sad.
James, fish don't last, man.
Fish
Fish
do
do
not.
not
Bill.
last.
I've got 5 or 6 little fishies, and they've been around for a pretty good while.
What kind you got?
I don't know, man. They're fish.
He said that.
Well, you're putting
Well,
like animals you're putting like damn near mammals in your tank, and I'm talking about little goldfish, the ones whose eyes fall out after like a
Try to
week.
Get that gerbil to
Yeah.
swim or something.
Guinea
Little
pigs are not
gerbil.
gerbils.
Guinea pigs do not go in fish tanks, Bill.
Not often.
Well, apparently
Yeah.
eels get out of fish tanks, so you're over there like.
Yeah.
You're over there
I
giving
don't know.
an improper. Hey, mute up if you're going to holler at your old lady.
Well, she's asking about the guinea pig.
Oh no!
Yeah, now
Tell-
you got answers to questions to answer.
You
She'll
sure
come
about that,
storming
James?
in here about that damn guinea pig. I'm gonna walk with her, Bill.
Yeah, you
Billy,
better.
I'm sorry for your loss.
Thank you for giving a
And
fuck.
for the loss that your kids are experiencing
What
too.
the hell happened? He sucked it up in the vacuum cleaner.
When you really think about it, James, your statement is correct. Nothing fucking lasts over here.
I'm lucky to get out of there each pay-per-view.
The food's poisoned.
If I wasn't taking blood pressure medicine and insulin, I wouldn't make it out of there.
Yeah, I tried to kill him, guys, with well, I don't even know what you call them. The hamburgers that you make with like donuts as the bun.
You made that?
It was sort of.
Here you go. Here you go, Mr. Diabetes. Here's a hamburger with a donut. Have some extra icing on that. Oh, and I got a chocolate cake for dessert.
God damn it, James. So
Well,
listen,
thanks, Bill.
you know that like hamburgers are kind of greasy, and they're
This should be okay.
pretty heavy duty. So like I had to go a little bit more reinforced than a regular donut. So I used honey buns as but the small ones, the little small, like, I don't know, Little Debbie or whatever.
Little Debbie, yeah.
They're smaller ones, right? So, like, they're compact and they work great as a hamburger bun for these types of burgers. But you put the burger and then the cheese and then the bacon and then an egg on it, like a fried egg, fried egg.
No, I don't.
Well, this is what the standard donut burger is. I'm just telling you what
I
it
don't
is.
do those things, but go on.
Well, there are places like, in downtown Nashville where I had like one of the best ones that I ever had, and it gave me the idea to make them at home. But, yeah, it's a fact. James came over and we, when we do these wrestling pay-per-views, the funny thing is, like, we don't even watch wrestling. We absolutely, like, hate today's wrestling product, but we still watch for the nostalgia. Those pay-per-views roll around. We want to get some good food on the griddle. We want to do something good, hang out, maybe just cut up a few hours and watch a wrestling pay-per-view and watch a guy come down to the ring and say, well, what's he going to do? And then he goes home at the end of the night. But one day I got the idea. I said, man, that burger was really good that I had. I bet James is going to love this. And so James comes over. We throw them together, use those honey buns as the bun. And like an hour later, like my toilets are clogged up because James goes up there and he's just like put a pile driver on my bathroom. And I'm not sorry about it.
I gave him an upper decker.
He did not give me an upper decker. He probably should have. I can't believe you guys aren't down with the donut burger.
I don't know about the donut burger. I'm certainly not down with the egg thing, but a donut burger I guess I would try.
So you've never even had it?
I'm not down with eggs like that.
Okay, but I'm talking about with or without an egg. You've never had a burger with a donut as the bun.
No.
Okay, we're going to have to take this to Twitter.
To see how many people have done this?
Yeah. I guess that's we're going to put out the feelers, like just to see if anybody's ever had it, and then maybe we can go later in the week and like, do you like it? Or maybe like they can comment on it whether they like it or not. Vote on if you've had it, and then comment below, tell us if you like it.
Sure.
But I think they're pretty damn good.
I would try it, just no egg. I'm worried about eggs.
Okay. Well, speaking of people who have eggs, today is Mother's Day. And
wait a minute, Bill. What happened to that damn gerbil?
She just got sick, man. I thought at first it was like a digestive thing.
Got the COVID.
No, I thought it was a digestive thing, and so I got her some probiotics to help with her digestion. There's like constantly hay available. Got her favorite food. Didn't give her like any like crazy vegetables. Just like gave her like carrots like once a week, where they told us to give them as a treat. And took good care of her, kept her cage clean, and then all of a sudden she's starting to like mope around and stuff. Took her to the vet, and that was a little bit too late. Nothing worked. Got that dry rot in her, I guess. So I don't know. It's probably you. It's probably you coming around, giving her that evil eye.
I didn't touch that damn thing, Bill.
Maybe she died of a broken heart because you wouldn't love her like you should have.
Probably.
It was sad though. It was sad to watch happen.
That's very sad. I'm sorry.
Thank you. Rick doesn't care. He's over there masturbating to gerbil porn, probably.
Condolences to the gerbil gods.
Well, it's
not a gerbil. It's a guinea pig.
That's you got me saying gerbil.
Guinea pig gods. Sorry.
Well, guys, listen. We had to call an audible on this thing, did we not? We were going to watch the movie Shadow in the Clouds, just like their TikTok trailer said we were going to do.
And then I made the point that Friday the 13th is coming right up. And last time we did it afterwards. Well, last time we did it afterwards, but it makes more sense to do it ahead of time.
It does, because we want to wish people. Well, yeah, you James is catching on to the conspiracy. But, James wouldn't be so behind if he would pay attention to that damn group chat that we have.
Yeah, James is not a member. I mean, like, he's a member. Yeah.
Well, he's a physical member of this group chat. Yeah, he does not sign into the group chat. Yeah, he doesn't sign into the group chat.
Phone, but not on my other phone.
So,
two phones, damn.
Hey, we get it. He's got a fish tank and a phone.
He told us, yeah.
I don't carry that one phone around with me. It stays at home.
It just holds papers down on your desk.
Yeah, until I gotta plug it up and do this podcast.
Yeah. Well, we're glad you do, James. But, in case you showed up thinking we're going to review Shadow in the Clouds, we're not. We called an audible, and we are... we called an audible. Okay, James. You finished?
Bill?
Get it out of your system, James.
Let me tell you something about Dog Man.
Oh, please do.
They're everywhere, and they're killing people.
I saw something I was going to tag you in. It was kind of related. Well, yeah, especially in the woods.
Don't go in the woods.
Ever.
James, you stay in the woods.
Well, Bill, I've got protection.
Condoms are not going to help you with the Dog Man.
I've got anti-Dog Man stuff.
Condoms? Okay.
Is it green apple spray, like what you use to keep a dog from chewing on something?
No, there is stuff you can spray, though.
For dogmen or regular dogs?
No, Dogman.
Oh, okay.
It's a mixture of different stuff. You can spray around your property.
Oh, I thought this was like a body spray, like a bug spray situation.
No, you won't want to spray this on you.
It's Axe for Dogman.
Which is just regular Axe.
Yeah, like once under each armpit, once across the body. Dogman.
Well, I was telling you it's all fun and games, so there's one peeping in your window.
James.
You'll be calling me saying, "Oh, is that a spray again?"
And how do I get it overnighted?
And I'll say, "Axe by Dogman."
Oh, okay. You're just going to let me die then. James, I want to know, though. Like, you always... Well, I don't think so, James. The only time you're going to be over here is when you need a bush to piss in.
No, I'd be over pissing in bushes waiting on him to come back.
This is not a running joke, guys. This is real deal. The other...
I think your neighbor would scare off Dogman because as soon as he heard movement, he'd be out that door.
So James and I are outside my door, and I've got a next door neighbor, right? So, and this is in a townhome, by the way. So James, instead of walking into my home and walking the 10 feet that it takes to get to my bathroom, he goes around to the side of the building and pees in the bushes. And it's pitch black out. But as soon as James walks by this guy's window, like he had no more than made it around the corner, and that guy just busts out the front door, and there I am just like looking at him sitting in my in my front seat of my truck.
Shit.
And I just nodded, gave him the white people face, and he went back in. And then James came back around the corner, I guess, after he heard us stop talking. So he knew the coast was clear. But I'm pretty sure that James is going to turn those bushes yellow with all that ammonia in his pee. And the neighbor's going to know what was up.
Probably why the Dog Man ain't come over yet, Bill.
You've laid the scent down. He knows there's nothing for him here. There's already been one here. Well, James, I'm glad you're doing it on that side of the building. But guys, let's talk about this movie, if we can.
Superior Friday the 13th movie, you mean?
I don't want to, Bill.
Yeah, there's a lot of things I don't want to do, but I have to do them, James. And we're doing this for the good of the horror community, those who listen to the Slashers and Screamers podcast. Yeah, we always said that, we're going to try to do sequels few and far between, even though James's, very first pick was a sequel, I'm pretty sure.
I'm not opposed to sequels.
I guess our soft rule was that we weren't going to do sequels until we did the first movie.
Then we're all in line for this movie.
Yeah, we are in line for Friday the 13th Part 2. But
Exorcist Part 3, on the other hand.
Well, yeah. Well, we did Exorcist 3, and that was kind of out of order. But, hey, I'm glad we just didn't do Part 2. So, with this one, though, the reason that we're doing this one is because the upcoming Friday will be Friday the 13th. And we'd always said that on Friday the 13th, whenever it falls, we're going to try to do another Friday the 13th. I may go ahead and try to forego that in favor of just having Part 1 and Part 2. Part 2 is where it began and where it ended for me. Nothing in the Friday the 13th saga ever did anything groundbreaking. It was kind of always just a continuation of what had been the classic formula. but Friday the 13th Part 2 stands alone for me, personally, and y'all might hate it, but I absolutely love it. It was my very first horror flick. It probably had my first set of movie boobs, and to this day remains my favorite horror flick of all time. So
it's definitely the best Jason movie.
Oh, so you agree. That's good to know. Rick, do you surmise that this would be the top Friday the 13th movie, or do you have another one in mind?
No, I think Part 2 is, for sure.
A lot of people like the first Corey Feldman, or the first Tommy Jarvis one with Corey Feldman. That's always a popular
Corey
one.
Feldman.
I love Corey Feldman.
JB, don't get me wrong, love him, but Part 2 is superior.
These movies get on my nerves.
You get on our nerves.
All of the above is true. I know the Friday the 13th movies get on James's nerves, and James does get on our nerves. Tell me why these movies get on your nerves, James.
Well, I got one thing to say, Bill.
I hope you have more. I thought you were going to let the song start.
That's the reason you don't send that to me. Or maybe that's the reason you do send it to me.
I think it's the reason I do. Guys, in case you didn't know what that was, I'm sure Casey does. I don't know if Rick does. There's well, okay, well, I'm sure you could hear it, but couldn't make out what was going on, right?
Yeah.
So this is a little clip of, I don't know, it was like some accident that had happened, and a guy's calling for an ambulance. He's saying, somebody call an ambulance, but, you know, in his southern accent, it sounds like he's saying ambulam. And so he runs through it, call an ambulam! Somebody call an ambulam!
I think he's pretty much saying ambulam.
Well, he is.
Okay, that's way too loud.
God.
This needs to stop now.
Okay. You're proud of yourself, aren't you, James?
That is hours of entertainment.
It's hard being this great, isn't it? I wish I'd never sent that to you.
How's the people in Brazil eat their burritos without hearing that song?
I don't know that they do, James. That's how I like to kick off the day, and I suggest you do it the same way.
I tell you what, I've been digging on this salsa that I found at the Mexican restaurant.
I don't want to hear anything about anybody else's salsa, James. I'm sick of talking to you about salsa.
I eat the hell out of it.
Well, guys, listen, we did Friday the 13th, the original Friday the 13th, quite a few episodes ago. And back in August, and we had our good friend James Alexander as a special guest. And thank you again, James, for doing that. I'd like to have James back on.
I hated that movie.
There can only be one James.
There
can only be one James. Oh, he's a funny guy, James.
Funny or something.
Going around these comedy clubs telling little jokey jokes.
Telling us little jokes at these comedy clubs.
Well, you know, everybody except James Brown here appreciates James Alexander, and we do want to have James back on.
In 10 minutes, and I'll have you entertained.
I'm sure, James. You got a mic on your head right now, so let me know when that entertainment starts. But
are you not entertained, Bill? Do I need to play that song again?
No, you do not. But I am quite entertained. And this movie, Friday the 13th Part 2, picks up where Friday the 13th leaves off. And we get a little flashback at the beginning of this one, as Alice, who was the heroine and final girl from Friday the 13th, is seen just decapitating Miss Pamela Voorhees at the end of the film. Very excellent build up to this movie, because we're seeing it in like a dream format. And we see Alice lying in bed having a little nightmare, and finally wakes up. Right? So this happens 2 months after the events of the first film in the timeline. So, knowing what we know, did you guys really like this cold open? To me, this cold open, it basically nailed me down in front of the TV.
Yeah, we're gonna talk about like who's in the movie and when it came out, and
we are. We're definitely going to do that. I want to get past this cold open.
Good God.
I want to know how you felt about the cold open, because to me, it was the hook, the line, and the sinker.
I just want to know who's in this movie.
That's, James, it doesn't matter to you. You're going to shit on them either way.
The credits is all I want to see.
I would say yeah, because it's always grabbed my attention when I watched it. So
I bet you
definitely. But also, Adrienne King had some real shit going on. When they asked her to bring this role back, she said she wanted to be on screen for a very short period of time because she had numerous encounters with an obsessive fan. She actually ended up avoiding further acting opportunities and hasn't done any on-screen film work since.
I had heard that. There's also some stuff, so obsessive fans, came after her. I don't know, they didn't come after her for, negative reasons. They came, it was a negative reason, but, not because she did a bad job, because they were obsessed with her. And, was it one obsessive fan, or was it multiple? I think it was one, right?
I think it was one with multiple encounters.
Okay.
He was in some other movies as an extra and a stunt performer in Ghostbusters.
No shit?
Yep.
Well, shit, Rick, we may as well just go ahead and do the rundown then, because we're going to spit out some info that you might have already dropped on us by then. So have at it. Rick's rundown coming at you right now.
Please do.
All right, we did Friday the 13th Part 2. It's a 1981 American slasher film directed by Steve Miner. I could really go down the list of what Steve Miner's done. He's done a lot of stuff that horror people would know, and people that also watch TV shows and stuff. He's done Part 2, Friday the 13th, Part 3. He did House. He did Soul Man. He did Warlock, which we reviewed on here. He did Halloween H2O. He did Lake Placid. He did Day of the Dead, 2008. He's done TV shows such as Dawson's Creek. He's done other TV shows such as Chicago Hope, Diagnosis Murder, The Practice, Felicity, Smallville, North Shore, Psych, Eureka. I could keep going on and on. But yeah, he directed this. This came out on May 1st, 1981. And it's crazy because Friday the 13th, the first one, came out May 9th, 1980. So it was barely a year after the first one that they're just we're just going to release another one. 87 minutes long. The budget was at $1.25 million. It did $21.7 million in the box office. It was edited by Susan E. Cunningham, who was Sean S. Cunningham's wife at the time. Harry Manfredi did the music. It was released by Paramount Pictures. Some of the main people in the film were Betsy Palmer, who reprised her role as Pamela Voorhees. Amy Steele, who was Jenny Field. She's known in April Fool's Day, 86, the comedy Walk Like a Man, and a thriller called Play Nice from 1980 or 1992. Adrienne King, as Casey mentioned, she was Alice Hardy. She's not really known for much besides this, in my opinion. Warrington Gillette was Jason Voorhees when he was unmasked. And that's pretty much it, honestly, that I can think of. But yeah, that's what we reviewed.
Yeah, so you brought up the fact that it was only a year later that they brought Friday the 13th Part 2 back out. That was actually the original plan, but it wasn't meant to be a sequel. Well, a sequel of sorts, but part of an anthology type movie. So they wanted to come out with a movie once a year, but be unrelated story-wise. Somebody approached Steve Miner or Sean S. Cunningham, and they made the decision that they were going to, have this be a continuation of Friday the 13th, and have, they basically insisted that the sequel have Jason Voorhees, Pamela's son, even though in the original, his appearance was only meant to be a joke, completely not serious at all. So that's what happened there. I'm glad they did it that way because, we've got these ridiculous number of films to watch. But, now he's one of the Mount Rushmore guys on slasher horror. I don't think anybody could really deny that. James probably would. But, who doesn't put Jason Voorhees on your Mount Rushmore of slasher horror?
Yeah, he's done
some...
Yeah. Go ahead, Casey, sorry.
Definitely, I was just going to say, absolutely, if there's, a Mount Rushmore top 4, how could you not put him on there? Probably for me, the ones I think of for A-line horror would be Freddy, Jason, Michael Myers, probably Ghostface.
The The fourth one always is like up for debate with most people.
I've seen people do Texas Chainsaw.
Mm-hmm.
But for me, I would say Ghostface.
That fourth one always is a debate. But the first three usually are not. It's pretty well cemented that, you know, Michael Myers, Jason, and Freddy are those first three. And then the fourth I see fluctuate between Leatherface or Chucky or Ghostface or who else could we throw on there?
Butthole McGee.
Okay.
Poor old James probably put Ash Williams up there. But, you know,
I
once
never
you get
Xenomorph.
Ain't even on my Mount Rushmore, Bill. Old Voorhees.
I'm sure he's not, James. By all means, go ahead and let us know who is on your Mount Rushmore.
Yeah, who's on yours?
I'm going to say
ragtag group of nobodies.
Michael Myers. He's a George Washington.
Oh, so you got him places assigned.
Then you got old Freddy.
Freddie Fender.
Freddie Fender. Then you got the Creeper, Bill. Jeepers
Who?
Creepers. The Creeper.
What?
You put that fucker on your Mount Rushmore?
Wow. Okay.
Creeper, Bill.
I do love that movie.
He's had two movies.
More haunted houses than anybody.
I don't think that could possibly be true.
James is making up facts.
A girl told me the other day that the second most common pet in Tennessee was a ferret.
The second
after
most?
cats.
That's a lie.
I was like, there's absolutely no way that's true. And she was like, it is, right after cats. And I was like, someone has wronged you. Like, that's not real.
Yeah, someone didn't love you enough to tell you the truth.
Nobody loves ferrets enough for them to be the second most popular pet in this state. Tennessee is a lot of things, but it's not that far gone.
Yeah, it's not a ferret state. Continue, James. You're Mount Rushmore. We've got Freddy and the Creeper.
What's his name? Michael Myers.
Oh, yeah, Michael Myers. And then the fourth one is probably the Predator, right?
Well, Bill.
Damn, I didn't want to get the cat out of the bag.
I do like the Predator. So he'd probably be the fourth one.
James, you built us up just to let us down.
You know, I'm going to go ahead and say it, Bill. The Predator could take out all three of them others.
You know, in a hypothetical situation, you're probably right.
Because, you know, the Predator don't sleep, so he ain't got to worry about
They don't sleep?
Freddy Krueger. No.
Oh.
They don't need no sleep, Bill.
I thought they just had shifts out in the jungle. Well, James, how are you going to deal with Jason? He's undead, man.
He just keep chopping his head off. Have you ever seen a Jason climb a tree? He ain't going to get to him.
You know, I'm tired of trying to put logic into illogical situations, and I'm not even going to entertain an argument with a guy who thinks a gorilla would beat a grizzly bear.
The Predator's agile.
He's going to start crying.
I've already started crying.
The Predator's agile, Bill.
He's agile, hostile, and mobile. And, guys, let's talk about this cold open. What happens in the cold open? Alice wakes up from her nightmare, and she's all alone in her apartment or her house, whatever it is, and she goes to take a shower. If you'll remember, she decapitates Pamela Voorhees. Okay, this is a really important part. So she wakes up in her house. She has a conversation with her mom on the phone. She goes to take a shower. Then she's interrupted by another phone call. This time, nobody's on the line. Okay, we got a little scream situation going on, except they're not talking. And then the classic, I heard a noise in the kitchen. So where do you go? You go to the kitchen, you grab an ice pick, and probably the most memorable jump scare of my childhood, and I hope it got you too, but the cat jumping in the window absolutely scared the shit out of me as a kid, and it might be the most important jump scare in my horror history, if I might say so.
I certainly got God.
I hope you got God. I know Rick, he's a cat lover, so he probably didn't even flinch. I know James jumped out of his...
Ice pick is such an underrated weapon to choose. That was a good choice.
It is underrated because it's skinny and it goes in quick.
Everybody's got an ice pick when it comes to this movie shit. They always get the ice pick out.
How many movies can you think of with an ice pick, James?
Several, Bill.
Okay.
I know I've seen several on-screen ice picks.
Well, the cat jump scare, the most important jump scare of my history, because that is the one that as a 4-year-old kid, if even 4, it made me think, okay, this is what I'm in for. This is the type of movie I'm in for, because this is the first Friday the 13th movie that I saw as a kid. I had to backtrack and watch the first one. But, you know, the cat scares her jumping in the window.
This
she goes
is the
to
one
get...
you'd always drag out when I come over when we was younger, Bill.
I know, James. I had to get you in it, man. I had to get you in it. I mean, how else do you throw some... Well, you throw somebody in the deep end and hope they can swim, and you swam, James, and I'm so proud of you. But she had to feed...
watching this thing.
That's the name of the game. But, you know, she was going to try to feed this cat, and she opens the fridge, and what do we see?
A head.
A Jello mold.
A Jello mold with a head in it. Not only a head, but it was kind of debated. What the fuck was that? It's debated on whose head that was, and it is actually Pamela Voorhees' head that Jason stuck in there for preservation purposes.
Debate?
Yeah, some people thought that it didn't look anything like Pamela's head.
I thought it was, I mean, like, I never questioned it.
Yeah, it made sense, but there were, like, some people that did not believe that it was Pamela's head. There was just, like, some random victim. Because when you look, the hair's a little darker. It really doesn't look like Pamela's head. But we know that in story, it is meant to be Pamela's head. It only makes sense because we have we have reasons to believe later on that that's what it is. So what happens? Somebody's shoving an ice pick into Alice's temple, and she gone. That's our cold open.
Rip.
Rest in peace, Alice.
That was quick.
It was very quick. But, it kind of... It was kind of funny because there was just a film, I want to say in 2020 or 2021, that was called... Actually, I don't even want to say what it was called because I'll get it wrong. But it was like a fan film of Friday the 13th. And Alice shows up. So it just completely ignores part 2. And sort of, what is the deal with that audio? Who keeps spitting in audio? Is that you, James?
Who do you think? Bullshit.
Of course it is.
I keep picking up...
I've never accused of such things in my life.
I keep picking up your fucking cell phone or something. Are you watching videos over there? If you are, mute it.
Yeah, Billy, the fan film
Shut
is
up,
called
Rick.
Jason Rising.
Jason Rising, that was it.
Jason Rising.
All right, fucking James Morrison over here. So Jason Rising had Alice.
That's a damn good flick.
I'm sure. Well, hey, if you go back and watch it, it is, like, definitely a fan film, but it's fun. It's a fun fan film. I watched it the night that it dropped, and I was pretty happy with what they did with such a low budget. But Alice was in this film at the end, and so that would insinuate that it ignores anything that happened in part 2 and onward. But there was also a phone call. There was also a phone call that happened with child psychologist Jenny Field on the movie. So, like, Jenny is still a person. So I'm guessing that, I don't know, it's just meant to blur the lines between the sequels. But that was 2 months after the events of the first film. 5 years after this is when we jump into today's story. The meat and potatoes of Friday the 13th Part 2. All right, there's a new summer training camp for counselors being opened at the new Packanack Lodge, or Camp Packanack, which is, I guess, adjacent to Camp Crystal Lake. And where we join is when we see Sandra and Jeff, played by Marta Kober and Bill Randolph. My very favorite couple in this film, even though there aren't many, but there are a couple of meant-to-be couples. But Sandra and Jeff, they're the good couple. I mean, they're just a fun-loving, very much in love two people who you just love to follow these guys. So, but they're on their way to camp, but they're going to first meet. Well, actually, we need to back up. We can't just talk about where they meet Ted. We need to talk about where they're on a payphone. Let me ask you, when was the last time you used a payphone?
Man, shit, like 2005, 6.
I've never used a payphone.
I lied. No, I lied. 2012.
Oh, you must have been stranded out in the middle of nowhere, Rick.
It was in an airport, so it counts.
Okay, I guess it does count. But a phone booth, I guess, is what I should really specify.
Oh,
I haven't used
like 2005, 6.
Yeah, I haven't used one since 2004 in, I want to say, San Diego. And, yeah, so
Wells,
just...
Virginia.
So,
you know what happened to the phone booth in San Diego?
Yeah, I know. Tell him, James. I'm too mad.
You don't talk about it.
Okay. Well, I won't talk about it. But they're on a phone call, and Jeff's truck is getting towed. And I like this part of the movie because, it shows the personality. Jeff's chasing down this tow truck, and he's like, "Hey, this is my truck. This is my truck. Asshole, this is my truck." Kills me every time. His face, just a fun guy. I don't know. I really like this part. But this is where they meet their friend, who is kind of behind the joke of the truck getting towed, Ted. And Ted is, I guess he's going to be known as the prankster of camp. And he's played by Stu Charno. I really can't think of anything I've ever seen him in besides Friday the 13th Part 2.
You just made that name up, Bill.
I did. It was really hard to find, but I had to pull one out of my ass just so I could have somebody to say. But before they meet Ted, they run into a guy that's a recurring character who's probably one of maybe 4 recurring characters from Part 1. And we're talking about Crazy Ralph, played by Walt Gorney, R.I.P. And he's saying that they are all doomed if they're going to continue on to camp.
By the way, y'all need to follow Crazy Ralph on Twitter because he's awesome.
Like the fan account?
Yeah, it's a fan account. He's awesome. Oh. Yeah.
So we need to put that into the link, the bio. What the fuck am I trying to say? The episode bio. We'll put the link in the episode bio. The entire cast of this film has like a fan account, and they all kind of interact on Twitter. It's fun to follow along with. But we do meet a few of our other counselors. All right, so I guess we need to kind of go down the line. First of all, head counselor Paul, played by John Furey, been in a couple of things. We've got Scott and his crush Terry, who you'd know as the girl in the booty shorts and the cutoff t-shirt, probably known as the hot chick in the movie, even though like there's 3 or 4 of them. Terry was the one that really catches your attention, especially with the skinny dipping scene. But Scott's wanting her. You never can win her over. He's dancing with her dog later. Whatever. Then we've got Mark, who's the wheelchair-ridden, quote-unquote, teenager after a motorcycle accident.
One of the best kills in the whole series.
Rick, you're getting ahead of me, but I'm going to tell you right now, the very best in of any Friday the 13th movie that's ever been put out there. Like, nothing beats it. There's so much with that scene that makes it the greatest, and you are 1,000% correct. And I believe Tom McBride is also passed on, who played Mark.
He's going to get there. He can't tell us yet.
Dang. You're talking about what happened to Tom McBride?
Yeah, what happened to that guy in the wheelchair?
Oh, I don't know.
Run him off wheelchair access ramp?
Well, pretty close. Pretty close. It's not like Lieutenant Dan from Forrest Gump, but Mark's love interest is Vicky. She doesn't really do anything of note in the film, but she's really nice to Mark, so that's kind of like her endearing feature. Like she doesn't judge him for, she doesn't think like he's any less because he's, handicapped. She is all about some Mark, and Mark is all about some Vicky. We'll get into them later. But, this is Paul where, he gives the safety rules and precautions for what is to happen at Camp Packanack as they're waiting for the campers to arrive. So this is kind of their orientation before camp. So just curious, who are your favorite characters out of the ones I just named?
Pamela.
Pamela is great. Just the simple fact that she was like in such serious films and really didn't even like the fact that she was going to be in a horror flick. And then she turns out to be like one of the, I guess, most famous faces in all of horror.
Oh, I'd say Amy Steele. I like her a lot.
Amy Steele's great.
Yeah, she is.
James, who's your favorite?
James.
The guy in the wheelchair.
So speaking of Amy Steele, Rick, Jenny shows up. She's a little bit late. Paul gets on to her, and they have a little meeting, but it's kind of obvious that they've got a little romantic thing going on, right? So they're flirty. It's like, oh, Paul, and don't let it happen again. And then, of course, we see him make it out. But, oh, yeah.
Classic.
Oh, yeah. He's obviously got his favorite, and it's Jenny. But, later on in the night. They're sitting around a campfire.
Are these all the people that are in the game?
No, but it's funny that you asked that. Everybody in that game is meant to meet like an archetype of character. And there's one character. Did you play it? It doesn't seem like something you'd play because there's a lot of potential for motion sickness. It is.
Yeah, I played it with my brother and I threw up.
See, okay, I knew it. I knew that had to be something that was going to happen. Like I knew that wasn't all there was to it, Casey. You didn't just play this game. You also blew chunks.
I tried really hard. I was so excited. It was so nice of him. He came home to visit because he doesn't live around here. And he was like, I got this game that I think you'll like. And I had heard about the game before from Billy. He was like, I got this game. We should play it. And I started playing it, and it did not last very long. And then I tried to watch him play it, which was also an unsuccessful journey. But
while it lasted...
Oh, I had fun. It was
pretty great, right? I might have put more hours on that game.
I got got.
Oh yeah, the worst part about that game is when somebody gets got and they quit. It's kind of like, man, that's kind of the premise of a horror game. Like, getting got is supposed to be the thing that like just drives your anxiety up, playing this game. When Jason shows up on screen, there's like a little VHS tape scratch that goes on, and then the music intensifies. That, like, when that game was new, that was some exhilarating shit, man.
Yeah, it was.
The simplest of video games, but delivered the most fun if you're a fan of the Friday the 13th movies. Even if you're not. But around this campfire, and like, is this not like one of the staples of horror film? The campfire story?
For sure.
Have a lot of story.
Yeah, a lot of horror movies start with that.
Any kind of camp should involve a camp story, like a campfire.
Yeah, I don't think there was one in Sleepaway Camp. Am I wrong? Right.
No, I'm pretty sure there was. I know in Madman there was.
Madman's campfire scene is what set off the chain of events.
Yeah.
Well, in this one, Paul is given the rundown, kind of telling it in in the format of a spooky story just to scare his counselors. But he tells the counselors about Jason and how he drowned, and then, Pamela came to avenge him and killed a bunch of people, and then somebody named Alice chopped off her head. And then, of course, Ted comes out of the woodworks with a mask and a spear, screaming. You think something's about to go down, pulls off the mask, and it's his silly ass. And then Paul tells everybody, there's nothing to worry about. It's just a story. Jason's dead. Go hang out in the lodge, and, just remember that the original campsite is off limits and to stay away from it. And that's all you need to know. But they're not staying away, are they?
No.
No, of course not. Jeff and Sandra, they're off to see Camp Crystal Lake, aka Camp Blood. They saw some of the signage on the way up to camp, but now everybody's kind of intermingling. He's trying to win Terry over, as well he should. Jeff and Sandra, they're dancing. Jenny and Paul are playing chess. Mark is over there arm wrestling with Vicky, kind of being his hype gal. And, of course, Jenny steps out to go to her cabin where she meets Paul, and they're doing their thing while Crazy Ralph's out fapping in the bushes. And this is where we get our first, modern kill during the 5 years later. And who eats it but Crazy Ralph? He's out there spying on Jenny and Paul.
Mm-hmm.
He's got his back to a tree, and Jason gets him with some barbed wire or some rope or something and chokes him, and Crazy Ralph is gone. So R.I.P. Crazy Ralph. You made it through 2 movies, which is a lot better than most, but now he gone. So the next day, the counselors, they're doing their training activities. They're doing some swimming. They're telling jokes. What were some of the jokes that they told by the lifeguard stand? There was one that's kind of inaudible because Ted's audio isn't the best, but Jenny tells a joke that says, and I'm paraphrasing, like, what's red and green and goes 100 miles an hour? A frog in a blender.
It's sad, but it's funny.
And then Ted's buildup was what's brown and sits on a piano, but I have never known the punchline to this one. I think it's something
like the one in the Breakfast Club where there is no punchline.
Well, there's a punchline. He says it, and they all laugh, and I'm just like, I don't know what he said. I think it's like, okay, what's brown and sits on the piano? I think the punchline is Beethoven's Last Movement. or something like that. What are you doing over there, James? Deep throating your mic?
That's my
te quiero. You remember that video I sent you, James? I don't think I sent it to Casey and Rick.
If James plays that video, I will hit that.
He'll never find it. But there's a guy holding a microphone up to another guy who's like supposed to be showing off his vocal pipes, and he's like, "Porque te quiero," and the guy just shoves the microphone into his mouth like so far. I've got to share this one. Okay. Even James thinking about it is making him laugh.
That's pretty funny, Bill.
It is pretty good. I'll get it to you guys. But while they're out there telling jokes and swimming and stuff, Jeff and Sandra sneak off. And they're going to go over to Camp Blood. Sandra wants to see what's going on over there. Why is it taped off? Why is it off limits? But they get caught by a police officer who turns them into Paul. And, Paul doesn't care. Okay, Paul doesn't care. He's like, well, just make sure you don't do it again. The officer's kind of, thrown off by the fact that, Paul's not going to do anything about it. And he says, first of all, he said, James, turn down the volume on your alerts there. And then second, he says, aren't you going to punish these guys? And Paul says, yeah, make sure they don't get any seconds on dessert. Well, up to this point, we've seen a couple of scenes of some stalking going on, right? We didn't get any view of Jason, or I'm sorry, I shouldn't say Jason.
The stalker. We don't know who it is.
Yeah, we don't know who it is. I'm sorry, guys. Didn't mean to spoil it this early. But we didn't get any look at our stalker when he was stalking Alice, if he or she was stalking Alice. And we haven't gotten any looks at anybody who might have been stalking Jeff and Sandra and Ted on their drive up, because you remember there was a log in the road that they had to move to drive around it. But we could see somebody's hands kind of like pushing the branches down to further do their stalking. Well, we don't know who it is, but as the police officer is driving away, this is Officer Winslow, by the way, not to be mistaken with Officer Carl Winslow from Family Matters, but Officer Winslow is driving down this back road, and we catch a small glimpse of a guy running across the road and jumping into the woods and running off. It is a split second. And even if you pause I like to say pause the tape because this is how I watched it originally. Even if you pause the tape, you don't get a lot. You see, like, he's obviously wearing some overalls, like a flannel type shirt, and something over his head, but we don't get a really good look. But we know it's not anybody from camp, or at least it doesn't appear to be anybody from camp. Some kind of trespasser, and the officer pursues him through the woods when they make it down to, I guess you could call it a dilapidated shack.
You could. That's exactly what you could call it, actually.
I would call it dilapidated. Mainly because I just learned the word dilapidated. I thought that's something you did with your eyes when you were getting them checked.
Okay.
What am I thinking of?
Dilated.
Thank you. I thought that was something you did with your liver, or your kidney, or your liver.
I'm gonna leave.
Dialysis.
If we're doing sequels, can I do Top Gun 2 as my next video?
Well, your next one is Shadow in the Clouds, so are you foregoing that one?
Top Gun 2 is not a horror movie.
It's pretty horrific.
We're not doing this.
The previews look garbage.
Listen here, Rick.
I'm listening. What are you saying? I don't hear nothing.
I will hear for you.
I would love to see James and Rick in a fist fight.
God, that would be awful. That would just be awful. First of all, my heart
Rick
couldn't
won?
handle it. What if he did? What if it was like Hogan Andre and like James just thought he was gonna just manhandle Rick, and then all of a sudden Rick breaks the grip on his shirt because James has surely grabbed him, and Rick just body slams him in the middle of the street.
That'd be pretty amazing, Bill.
It would. Even James says so. But Officer Winslow.
Right here, Bill.
Okay, stop.
James, you're getting into the danger zone now.
Yeah.
You're going to get us sued by Freddie Loggins.
Not Freddie.
Yeah, Freddie. So, guys, Officer Winslow chases...
We got the inside dope.
We do. So, listen, the officer chases this trespasser into the woods, into this shack, and he opens the door, and he sees something. We don't know what he sees. This, to me, I guess kept me really engaged if the chase through the woods didn't do it. But we see that there's light, because, you know, the officer had like an orange type of glow on his face once he opened the door. But behind him, we saw some footsteps, some footsteps. You hear footsteps. So what am I trying to say? You see some feet walking towards him. And then all of a sudden, the back end of a claw hammer goes into the back of his brain, and the officer's done. But we can pretty well tell that this is a very violent man.
Person.
Well, I mean, I'm just judging by the clothes. I mean, maybe it's a person. They don't look like women's boots. But I'm sure, a murderer doesn't worry about the aesthetic of wearing women's or men's boots. I mean, sure, it could be a person.
Or they just don't care.
They don't care. I mean, if they're going to murder somebody, they may as well not care how they look. They don't care about the overalls. They're wearing overalls, first of all, okay? So...
There are ladies' overalls for sale at Target right now. I saw them today.
You remember when people used to wear overalls and, like, only buckle one side of them as, like, a fashion thing? Maybe it was very short-lived, but it happened.
Jerry Lawler done that, Bill.
Well...
That's just when he meant business.
That is when he meant business, but look...
Sometimes when I got my overalls on... I mean,
get real mad.
Strap down, baby.
You pull that strap down, let that one titty out, and you're in business. Well, this is where the rubber meets the road, the turning point. What, James?
Do you know there's a pay-per-view on tonight, Bill?
I know there's a pay-per-view, and I'm going to watch it after this thing's done. You should have been over here today, but you're not here. We're here on the Slashers and Screamers podcast talking about Friday the 13th Part 2. And this is where the thing changed. When you're a stalker, James, if you're stalking people, what's the one thing you want to be able to happen in order for you to start taking them down one by one? You want them to separate, do you not? Oh, God. And what do they do at this point?
You got to be quiet, Bill.
Well, you do have to be quiet. But in order for even the quietness to take any kind of effect, they need to be separated. All right.
If I was stalking somebody, they'd hear You'd
be playing Danger Zone behind them.
Way to the danger. They'd be like, what's that?
So that night, Jenny, Paul, Ted, and a shitload of counselors, they decide to go into town for, a night out before the campers show up. But some of the important people decide to stay back. James's favorite, Mark, his love interest, Vicky, Terry, who Scott's in love with, and Scott, they all stay back. Jeff and Sandra, part of their punishment was to stay back at camp as well, for sneaking off. It wasn't mentioned at the beginning, but I think Paul kind of threw that in at the last moment, feeling bad for not giving any kind of punishment. But Jeff and Sandra have to stay back. Well, one by one, Jason comes in, all right? First to go is my personal favorite, Terry. She goes skinny dipping, and it's a pretty lengthy scene. And honestly, I said this was probably my first movie boobs, but it's probably my first top and bottom half, if we're being honest. But she goes skinny dipping, and Perv of the Year Scott, he kind of comes in behind her, and we're kind of led to believe that, based on the camera angles, that this is the stalker. But it's actually Scott, and he steals her clothes. But he gets caught in a snare. And this is another area of contention, whether or not this snare was set up by Jason. So I guess I turn it over to you guys. What say you? Do you think that this snare that's not... snot. Oh, God. I need a drink. This snare that Scott gets caught in was set up by Jason.
Got.
He got.
What'd you just say, Bill?
I asked if Scott was caught in this snare. Well, actually, I know he was. But was this snare...
Schnot?
Yes, I said schnot. And then I corrected myself, James. I don't want to hear any old shit coming back up. I guess you're going to bring up something I said back in high school, too.
I might.
Well, James, what say you? Was this snare that Scott got caught up in set up by Jason or no?
Probably.
Thank you.
Jason likes to set traps.
Well, you have to think about it. How has he been surviving all these years? Like, his mother was killed. Yeah, I mean, he's obviously 5 years after his mother was brutally murdered by...
He likes pimento cheese sandwiches and red Kool-Aid.
Well, he ain't going into town, first of all.
How you know, Bill?
Because people would notice him.
Maybe he's just sneaking in there and getting him some pimento cheese and heading out with a loaf of bread.
Well, the only people I've ever seen buy pimento cheese are people who look like Jason Voorhees.
Drinking that old pond water.
Yeah. Well, listen, he's got to be surviving on something.
About people who buy pimento cheese look like my mom loves pimento cheese. And it's
well, you know what?
Getting a little Mrs. Grissom's pimento cheese at the store.
Well, you know what? The two grossest people that I can think of right now are Jason Voorhees and Casey's mom for eating pimento cheese. How dare you, final girl mom? Find a better thing to snack on.
I kind of like pimento cheese every once in a while.
Well, we know you're gross already. That was never an area of contention.
When I go to the store and get pimento cheese in my overalls, they think I'm Jason Voorhees.
How many of the shoulders on your overalls are buckled?
Just one.
Well, both of them, because I don't want to seem threatening when I get my pimento cheese.
You want them to hand it over willingly, right? So
yeah,
you don't want to make this a whole issue.
So I go in there double strapped.
All right. Well, okay. So while Scott is strung up in this trap that is probably set up by Jason, per James, he gets his throat cut. It's as simple as can be. They're using the back end of the machete in this scene, as you can clearly see. But Scott's gone. He got. And while Terry was gone to get a little knife to cut him down, he's been RIP'd. He's been, what's the word when they fire you? Something endeavored. He's been future endeavored by Jason. So Terry comes back. She's still topless. She's got that damn towel wrapped around her neck. She sees Scott. She talks to him. She says, "You better not fucking do this ever again." So, man, it just tells me she was going to go ahead and give him another shot. She was giving Scott the time of day. But she sees that his throat's been cut. She turns around. We don't see what happens to her, but you can only assume she's getting bludgeoned. She's getting stabbed up. Something. Terry's gone. Scott's gone. And the body count continues. Oh, yeah. It is now going to be Mark's turn. And he's the one that you really...
Mark.
Yeah, you really start to feel good for him because, like, first of all, he's an arm wrestling champion. He's taking everybody out. And he's, back at the cabin, arm wrestling Jeff. He's the one in the wheelchair, James.
He's going to be strong, Bill, if he's in a wheelchair.
Well, yeah, of course. I mean, he's like, the guy on Not American Dad, the guy on the other cartoon, Family Guy. Just a fucking upper body like a tank. And I could be wrong. Was he actually wheelchair ridden in real life?
I don't think so, but I'll check.
Really? For some reason, I thought he was. Damn, that pisses me off.
He only plays one on TV, Bill.
Well, damn. So Mark and Vicky, Vicky's going to give it up, okay, and like rightfully so because Mark is a hammer. Okay, he's not the hammer of this film, but he's a hammer.
And in a wheelchair.
He's in a wheelchair. Only the legs don't work, James. She made sure to ask that. Well, Vicky goes to freshen up. She's going to get that thing ready for Mark because he's going to be giving free mustache rides. He don't even have a mustache. So while he's waiting for her, he rolls out onto the porch. And we can see that slowly approaching is somebody. We don't know who. We don't hear footsteps. You would think you'd hear footsteps. But he's just out there looking around and the camera's getting closer and closer and closer. Until all of a sudden... boom, machete across the face, diagonally, and it gives a sickening thud. But what really drives home this kill for me, it is a clearly 5/ kill, but what drives home this kill for me is the grainy footage, the rain, and he's rolling down the steps that lead up to Packanack, and I wouldn't have known that if I hadn't played the video game. But these steps that go up to the Packanack Lodge, and this so stressful music. I don't know if it's like an off-tune violin or what, but it's like one of the most gruesome tunes I've ever heard in a film, and that might be, another reason that it's just the perfect horror film to me. This is the number one kill in all of the Friday the 13th saga. I give it 5. Fuck it. I give it 10 fucking slashes because it's the greatest. What say you about this kill?
It's an incredible kill. Like, if I'm looking at the reasons that I prefer this movie, this kill absolutely sets it apart from the first.
What say you, Rick?
I'd say it's pretty awesome. I'll give it more than a 5 out of 5 for sure.
Oh shit! Calm down, Rick.
Especially when he goes down the steps and you think he's gonna fall out of the wheelchair, but he doesn't.
He just keeps going, man. And that music is just bananas. James, tell me you love this kill, because you sure as hell better.
Well, Bill, I'm going to have to be honest with you. I don't think I've ever seen this kill.
Rooney!
And the way you described it, it just doesn't seem like it's very exciting. Other than the Shinsuke Nakamura theme song playing while he's rolling down these steps.
It's pretty close.
I just can't get into it.
James, I've decided after 34 years of friendship, I believe it's run its course. I believe this thing's over with. You are now dead to me. And I'm going to play the
best friend.
Oh, God. Never mind.
I just ruled out.
You can play me out with the Shinsuke intro.
I don't know what to do with my hands.
I bow out, Bill.
I wasn't even on the table.
Yeah, James, why did you automatically disqualify Casey?
There's a lot of things Bill looks for in a best friend, and Casey's not got it.
What? What does that even mean? What am I looking for?
I'm so hurt.
and really, it's not even clear why it's so hurtful. You just know that it is. It's like not even being invited to a place where you were going to say you didn't want to go anyway.
I think it's a compliment.
I wanted. You think it's a compliment
that you're not Billy's best friend?
God,
you're not best friend material.
I'm so hurt.
She's going to be hurt regardless, James. You're going to have to come with some pretty heavy apologies later. But now we're, Mark's bit the dust. He's gone. And the next thing that happens is he's got to switch weapons because now he's done the unthinkable. You never lose your weapon. You should never, ever lose your weapon because now he's armless. Not like literally armless. He has no weapon to kill with because it's stuck in Mark's face rolling down the steps and he ain't going to go down there and retrieve it. So what's he do? He goes into Packanack Lodge and gets Ted's spear, the one that you remember seeing from the campfire scene. And who's he going to interrupt? He's going to interrupt Jeff and Sandra. They're in the middle of doing the hibbity-dibbity. I know Casey likes that term.
I do think it's funny. I hate it, but I think it's funny.
Where I'm from, they call it doing the hibbity-dibbity.
So stupid.
Don't go to the frozen food section, your boobs will harden. So, Jeff and Sandra are upstairs doing the hibbity-dibbity, and they actually get to finish this time. So that's a plus. Jeff gets off his last release before... But he finished, but he didn't even roll off. So that's how you know it's good. That's how you know that Sandra... Well, damn it, you know what? I'm going to back off this, first of all. I have to back off these statements. I'm going to back off these statements because I just thought of something. Didn't Marta Kober get in like some kind of hot water for something in this film? Is anybody aware of this?
Okay. I don't know.
Yeah, it just occurred to me, and the girl that plays Sandra, Jeff's girlfriend, the girl that we meet first in the movie outside of Alice. So Sandra actually in the original cut of this film had a nude scene, okay, and it turned out that she was underage. They had to cut the scene, destroy the footage and whatnot. So, and I don't even think she was 17. I think she might have been 16 in this film.
Yuck.
As opposed to like she's obviously playing like somebody who's old enough to be a counselor. As opposed to Mark, who obviously is like 35 playing a late teenager. But yeah, this is true. I think she was underage at the time of this film. So I'm going to have to cut my comedy short on this scene and just know that the only stabbing that actually happened was Jason sneaking into the room, puts the spear up in the air and he impales both Jeff and Sandra in a very cool, very creative kill. You don't get to really see much of it except for the spear getting all the way to the floor through the mattress with blood just, gushing down on top of it. So that's where we lose Jeff and Sandra, my favorite two people in the film.
R.I.P.
This not the most creative kill, but very cool in knowing, like, with your own imagination, what happened. The spear goes through both of them. Sandra sees him.
You just don't see anything quite like it.
Had there been, I guess, maybe an aftermath scene, it would have really driven it home. But this film had a little bit cut out of it, like less than a minute. And I do wonder what that minute looked like, because this film could have very well gotten an X rating for, obviously, the violence. Because nothing is like overly sexual in the film other than, like the skinny dipping scene. Obviously, the lovemaking scene between Jeff and Sandra. There's implied sex that's gonna happen between Mark and Vicky. But really, this is mild stuff, and I wonder, like, how strict were those ratings back in the day for this thing to get an X rating, possibly. 40-something seconds were cut. What could have possibly been in those 40 seconds to get an X rating in this film?
Decapitation, maybe, or something? I don't know.
Well, they showed the decapitation. Calm down, James.
No, I didn't have my Gatorade for a reason.
James, you can have your domestic dispute. Thank you. So, now that Jeff and Sandra are gone, Mark's gone, Scott and who's the other one?
All right, Bill, I'm back. I had to handle some business.
Yeah, okay, good. I'll testify at the hearing. So,
you don't drink a damn man's Gatorade.
Well, Jenny and Paul are still alive. They're out on the town. I'm thinking of the girl that went skinny dipping. The one that went skinny dipping. Terry. God, I keep wanting to call her Vicky. I keep wanting to call two different girls Vicky, but Terry.
Because Vicky's the one who gets stabbed with the knife, right?
Yeah, so Vicky's up next. Once Jeff and Sandra are gone, Mark's gone, Terry and Scott are gone, the only one left is Vicky. And she's the one who walks in on, let's see, does she walk in on Jeff and Sandra?
Yeah.
Okay, so she walks in to find that aftermath. The sheets are just crazy bloody. And she lifts up the blanket, and that's where we get the reveal, the big reveal for Jason. And I got to get your opinions on this, without any kind of influence. Compared to all the other iterations of Jason, being part 3 through even the newest 2008, 2012 version of Friday the 13th, where does Pillowcase Mask Jason compare aesthetically to you?
It's a potato sack, Bill.
Debatable.
You mean like ranking him or something, or like just in general?
Yeah, on the scary level. Like, what? Obviously, the hockey mask is the more iconic. People recognize that more than anything. You tell somebody, "Hey, draw me a picture of Jason Voorhees," the hockey mask is going to be on there. But where do you stand on the sack or pillowcase?
It's a good one. Like, I think it's creepy. The hockey mask is just what stands out, I think. Does that make sense? Like, there are cooler masks than the...
Well, generally, in these slasher flicks that we've reviewed, we've always kind of had our opinions on the aesthetic of the killer and how kind of lame the masks were in Hellfest.
Those masks did suck.
Yeah, they kind of did suck. So, like, I guess my question is, how do you feel about, the as James says, potato sack?
The hockey mask is more iconic, but I definitely like this one.
Rick?
I like it. I mean, I wouldn't say it's like scary per se, but I like it as a disguise, I guess.
What say you, James?
Bill,
I know you're not afraid of anything.
With a potato sack on their head, they're getting terminated with extreme prejudice.
If you even saw him coming, James. If you even saw him coming. That's the beauty of stalking.
Yeah, that big old sack walking through the woods.
Well, maybe I am of the minority opinion here, but I think the potato sack is the scariest of any Jason iteration. Like the single eye, maybe not so much the overalls, but the potato sack compared to the hockey mask, I just don't think there is a comparison. There is just like a different level of malevolence that I think this pillowcase radiates. And it made me the most afraid of Jason from part 2. Like, Jason from the rest of them, sure. But Friday the 13th part 2, Jason, with the pillowcase, is just other level scary. And even though, I'm trying to remember...
You can't be scared of a guy with a paper bag on his head.
Well, first of all, it's not paper. Okay.
I can, too.
I guess,
I would be scared if a one-eyed man with a potato sack or a pillowcase or whatever you want to call it on his head showed up.
With the eyeballs cut out in it.
I worry about his depth perception, but it clearly isn't holding him back.
Well, it's funny you asked that because there was an issue with the mask having only one eye and how it would kind of get like move around on the. It's actually what was his name? Steve Dash, I believe. Is it Steve Dash?
Damn thing. Who made these sacks?
So you had mentioned it earlier, Rick, that Warrington Gillette was Jason in this film. But actually, Warrington Gillette was only the Jason who jumps through the window at the end. Spoiler alert. The one who played Jason throughout the film up until that point was Steve Dash. So he had major issues with a mask during filming to where they had to tape it to his face on the inside of the mask. And there were like big abrasions and stuff on his face. Just caused all kinds of issues. But
fun fact, the first time they tried to jump through the window, the guy hit the wall. That's the reason they had to change Jason's. Because the one guy hurt himself because he couldn't see. He had that mask on.
James, he doesn't jump through the window with a mask on. He's already had the mask removed by that point. What kind of bullshit are you putting? What kind of bullshit are you putting on?
The first guy tried to jump through there with a mask and he couldn't see. Hit his head. So they said, let's do it without the mask.
James, I want to know your sources for this.
Well, Bill, yeah, I talked to the director the other day.
You're full of shit, James.
Before I come on here.
Well, with Vicky gone, well, everybody's gone now. Paul and Jenny have now returned to Camp Packanack. And of course, they find the place just deserted. Nobody's around. They head upstairs and go into the room where Jeff and Sandra were doing the hibbity-dibbity. So they find blood everywhere, as you would when you've been murdered in your own bed. They don't know, what's going on because Jason's not there anymore. He's hidden the bodies. He's vacated the premises, so to speak. And as they're looking around, one of the more memorable scenes, for me anyway, as they're kind of navigating through the dark, because the power's out, obviously, Jenny gets this feeling that someone's in the room with them. And Paul is over there looking through, well, whatever he can find. And Jenny says, Paul, there's someone in this room. He doesn't really pay her any Paul doesn't really pay her any attention, and which he should have said, what Casey just said. So she repeats, Paul, there's someone in this fucking room. And that's where the big fight happens. Jason's got a pitchfork. He attacks Paul. He gets, he and Paul are having a scuffle on the ground. You don't know who's won this thing. Jenny gets close, and then Jason stands up, and it's him. He's knocked Paul unconscious. He may have killed him. We don't know. Jenny takes off running. She hides in the bathroom. She tries to get out through a window, but Jason, he appears outside. He grabs her. She runs back out into the kitchen, where she finds Crazy Ralph's corpse hanging in the pantry. It's where I hide my bodies too. But she escapes the lodge. And that's where we get, one of the most repeated tropes in all of horror film history, the car that won't start. But at least this time they set it up earlier in the film, right? When she gets there, when she arrives to camp and Paul sees her, she goes up and she's having car trouble. She swears she's having car trouble. That kind of lays the groundwork, but we didn't really pay much attention to that. But now her car won't start. And we get this really cool scene where Jason's on top of the car, the pitchfork coming through the roof of the car.
It's a good one.
Well, she's being chased across camp by Jason. And one of my favorite scenes is when she hides under the bed. Casey, do you have this same kind of, reaction to four-legged, long-tailed critters in your home?
Do I hide from my dog? Is that the question?
That will be my follow-up question. My primary question is, as a woman...
Hello. I am an adult lady.
As an adult lady, formerly a woman, now an adult lady.
Yeah.
Once a girl, not yet. I don't know how that title goes.
I'm not a girl, not yet a woman. Are you quoting Britney Spears? I knew we were best friends. Eat shit, James.
I was trying to, and I failed. Eat shit and die, James. Eat shit and live, Casey.
Wait just a damn minute.
Are you afraid of mice, Casey? That's the question.
Okay. You should remember this.
Potato sack?
You should remember this from when our workplace was having construction done on it, and there were mice running amok in that building. I am afraid of mice.
To the point where, like, if one runs by you, you're going to urinate yourself?
I don't know if I would pee my pants. Okay, so mice on their own, like one by one, don't really scare me. Mice as an infestation scare me. Any kind of infestation is a problem for me.
So
but like if someone had a little pet mouse, I mean, that's not why.
Did that for band camp. So pet mice are okay.
Yeah, like a one-off pet mouse is fine, but mice being everywhere infesting a place, I don't know. They're really cute is the thing. It makes me nervous to think about them like living in my house. And we've already talked about my squirrel issue, but I don't know, any kind of infestation, not a friend to me.
Bringing up the squirrels, I have to tell you guys, I don't think I've told you, but you know, our good friend Christian with Slasher Sports, he has sent me a ball cap of a minor league baseball team, and I can't remember the name of the city, but they're the Flying Squirrels, okay? And their hashtag on Twitter is Go Nuts. Very funny. But guys, it gets better. It gets so much better. You know how the Nashville Sounds have that the country music legends race, where they run around the outfield dressed as when the giant Johnny Cash, Reba McEntire, George Jones, and Dolly Parton masks.
It's a sack race.
It's not a sack race.
Potato sack race.
It's the country music legends race in the Nashville Sounds. The Milwaukee Brewers have the sausage race where there's like a bratwurst and a hot dog and whatever. But they have these at baseball games. Well, they have one at the Flying Squirrels games as well, but it's called a mixed nut race. And there's a cashew, and I think there's a peanut, and then, get this, guys.
Would you like a peanut?
They have the Almond Brothers. The Almond Brothers.
That's so silly.
I love it. James, I knew you'd like that.
Well, see, Bill, Casey can't be your best friend because, she just said. For one, she speaks correctly. Two, her amusement is not the level of amusement that you need to be satisfied when you
Are you saying I'm not funny?
No, I'm saying your level of amusement when Bill tells a story isn't up to his level that he needs to satisfy his urge to tell these such jokes.
James, you're on to something. And
well, I know, because
Casey does speak correctly, and that gives me zero material.
I've lived it for over 30 years, Bill. I know what it takes to be your best friend.
Hasn't spoken correctly once. and that gives me all the material I need. So Jenny running.
There's anybody can pick your best friend, it's me, Bill.
Casey, he has a point. You are just too smart to be my best friend. Like, you would end up making fun of me, and I can't have that. My ego is too fragile.
That rarely happens, and we've been friends for a long time.
We have been friends.
Usually we mutually make fun of something together.
Okay, like, you're starting to get a little bit too out there because I don't want to out us.
We are some haters.
That's not best friend material.
That's where you're wrong.
If you can't dig in each other's psyche and pull out the worst and make fun of it, you're not best friends.
James didn't speak for 10 years because he was afraid of what I'd say. Oh, God. So, guys, we're at the point where Jenny is being chased across camp by Jason. She hides under this bed and sees a rat. It looks more like a mouse, but a rat, and basically pees herself. And I guess she's wearing the least absorbent pants because it looks like that urine was poured directly out of a measuring cup as it puddles out from underneath the bed.
Yeah, she pees her pants harder than anyone's ever peed their pants in their lives.
There are puddles
Like,
beside my bushes
for 2
outside that have
weeks.
less pee in them.
Yeah, she didn't pee for 2 weeks, and then she showed up on set.
And apparently she didn't drink any water because that pee was like apple juice color.
Pine Sol.
Maybe she had.
She might have been dehydrated.
What was that?
Rick, he's making fun of you because you sound like you're underwater. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome Andre the Giant. No, Rick sent us a message. He said, I will just stop talking. Actually, he said, I will just stop talking.
And
fuck all y'all. He said, fuck all y'all. Rick, don't be that way. Just disconnect your mic and then reconnect it. You okay, James? So Rick says, you can't fucking hear me. Well, Rick, we can't hear you. So that's why I want you to unplug you. Well, okay, we can't understand you. Just listen. Unplug your mic and then plug it back, or like disconnect it and reconnect it, or just like get out of that 55-gallon drum that you're in. You're giving. I think his wife's giving him a flea dip.
It's Bane from Batman.
I think you don't have to say from Batman, James. Everybody knows where Bane's from. It's Ace Ventura from Ace Ventura.
I'll tell you what you do. You turn that somebody sideways. Stick it straight up. You candy ass.
Okay, he's going to log off and log back on. So we'll have Rick again here in a couple minutes when he gets out of his...
I'll be playing the part of Rick.
When he gets out of his flea dip.
How do you like this movie, Rick?
Okay, James. Okay. He can probably still hear you, so don't make fun of him. He'll leave and not come back. Oh, we can hear you just fine. Damn it, he's back.
Shut the hell up with his gurgling shit.
Rick 2.0.
See, James is so used to having the mic issues that he doesn't know how to act when somebody else has them.
Really not.
Well, yes.
So guys, Jason sees this unfiltered puddle of pee on the ground, and I don't know why Jenny doesn't see this, but he stands up on a chair and waits for her to come out from under the bed, which she does like 2 seconds later, not near long enough for me to like feel good about the killer being gone. She didn't even see him open the door and leave, which is weird to me. This is a really weird scene to me. But either way, she gets out and he tries to get her with the pitchfork and misses like he does. He's like one of the most clumsy, or one of the clumsiest Jasons in all the movies. And obviously he's like substantially smaller, so this might be like his, 18-year-old, 17-year-old years. I don't know. This is another point of contention between Friday the 13th fans. Because how old was he when, his mother was on her killing rampage, and this is 5 years later. He couldn't have been that old if he was 13.
He's also undead.
Not yet, he's not.
Oh, you're right.
But that's another point of contention, Casey, because some people think that if he drowned, then he must have been resurrected somehow, so he's undead now. But, most people kind of accept the fact that he didn't really drown, and his mother was only angry because they were going to let him drown, and he's still in human form right now. My opinion is he doesn't even reach undead form until he gets dug up from that grave by a couple of sequels away.
Where the hell is Corey Feldman at?
Corey Feldman's in part, 4? Yeah, 4, 5, and 6. So Tommy is in 4, 5, and 6. Corey was in the first one, which is part 4. But this is a part where things get a little bit more physical. Jenny finds a chainsaw that runs for about 5 seconds, and she basically takes him out with a chair shot. So a good little WWE shot. She runs into the woods, and she's pretty much gotten away from him. She sees oh boy, Sally sells seashells by the seashore. She sees a shack, the same dilapidated shack that the deputy, old Officer Winslow, ran into and got brained. But the lights are on inside. And this is where the shit really hits the fan. She makes it in. She doesn't make it very far in when she looks out the window and sees Jason coming. So she locks the door up, runs into the back room, the same room where we saw the deputy get that orange glow on him. But she runs in, locks the door, and when she turns around, there she sees it. The shrine to Pamela, Jason's dead mother. And that's really what this has all been about. This is why it's a perfect Mother's Day podcast. But we see the shrine that consists of Pamela's decapitated head, the sweater she was wearing when she was killed, brutally murdered by Alice, a pair of pants, a machete, some candles, and then we see the corpses
surrounded
of the
by bodies.
The bodies of Terry, Alice, the deputy. There might have been one more.
Pretty much everybody.
Yeah, pretty much. Rooney! And so Jason, he starts breaking this door down. He starts breaking this door down with his, he doesn't have his pitchfork anymore, so he's got his pickaxe, which is my favorite of the Jason weapons. But she's got a plan. Now, if you guys remember, back earlier in the movie, it was barely mentioned. What are you doing, James?
Nothing.
Okay. If you remember, earlier in the movie, there was a piece of info that was dropped on us about Jenny that you might not have caught on to because you didn't think that maybe it was going to become important in the movie. But Jenny is studying child psychology at university. And she starts to kind of put that into a plan. She starts using her newfound knowledge from school to develop a plan that might help her get out of the situation. She mentions at the bar, when they were out on the town, that maybe Jason is just out there, looking for like a maternal figure, just a child crying for help. So what does she do? What's the plan, Casey? Tell him I'm too mad. Casey, are you on mute?
Oh, hell. So she makes a plan to put on the sweater, very stylish, very fashionable, and convince Jason that she's Pamela. But it doesn't work because Jason sees the mom's head on the altar.
It works for a short time, though, right?
For a very short time. It's a good idea, but maybe she could have hid the head.
Yeah, she was. Definitely hide the head. She was on the right track, but obviously it doesn't work. He puts that pickaxe in her leg, and thankfully she doesn't have to fight him off alone because here comes Paul. They have a nice little fight, but who comes into the clutch? Rick with a machete.
Oh, shit.
That's right. Final girl Jenny.
Final girl fucking Jenny puts the machete in his shoulder. Pretty deep into his shoulder, by the way. Should have killed him. Probably did the job. Well, hey, we don't know. We don't fucking know. But before they left the shack, they took that sack off his head, and they're obviously horrified. Again, we don't get to see it. But they leave. Scathed, but they leave. And they finally make it back to a cabin. They find some refuge. But fuck, they hear some more noises outside. Paul grabs that pickaxe handle, or not the pickaxe, the hay fork handle, and he opens the door. And what do we find? The little puppy, Muffin. Cutest little dog in the world that used to belong to Terry, R.I.P. And of course, they're relieved. We've got some cute little piano music playing. But then, boom. Out from behind Jenny, crashing through the window is Jason. He grabs her, drags her out the window. One of the most stressful scenes ever because it's now in slow motion. We see what Jason looks like. He's all deformed. That stressful music playing again. And then Jenny wakes up. It hasn't been a nightmare, but she wakes up. Loaded onto a stretcher, being put into an ambulance, calling out for Paul. We don't know where Paul is. We never see him again. So his fate's left unclear. And then Rooney! And then the final shot shows Pamela Voorhees rotting decapitated head. Roll fucking credits. The greatest slasher horror film there ever was, guys.
And Jason
final thoughts
is nowhere to be found.
Nowhere to be
Sounds
found.
like a bunch of shit to me.
James, give us your final thoughts on Friday the 13th Part 2.
Well, Bill, if you want a damn movie that's good to watch, you better watch this movie.
Oh, man.
Seems
I
like
could
a lot of the...
I could copy and paste that anywhere.
The Voorhees lore come from this movie, Bill.
That it does, sir. That it does. Rick, final thoughts on Friday the 13th Part 2.
Probably one of the best.
Old James is going to have a field day with that one. Final girl Casey, your final girl thoughts on Final Girl Jenny and Friday the 13th Part 2.
I'm not on mute, damn it. So critics gave this a 28% on Rotten Tomatoes. But they can go to hell because this is the superior Friday the 13th movie. And it's perfect for this Mother's Day weekend. A true matriarchal classic.
I mean, what's better to show your mother that you love her forever than to go on a killing spree in her name? And making a shrine! A beautiful shrine, might I add, with her favorite articles of clothing. It is beautiful. But guys, that's going to do it for this week of Slashers and Screamers. Obviously, we planned on Shadow in the Clouds. We're going to push that one off to next week. So, make sure you watch that this week and tune in on next Monday. So, for Final Girl Casey,
let's see how far they push it back next time.
Okay, you rat bastard. For Final Girl Casey, for the Memphis Maniac Rick, and the Godfather of Droll James, I am Billy Graves. This was Slashers and Screamers, and we will catch you in the game.